The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built by any known species. It floated in the empty space between three star systems, a massive station made of glass and metal that could hold 10,000 beings at once. Today, representatives from 12 spacefaring civilizations had gathered for an emergency meeting. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through the tall doors and into the main chamber. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Her simple blue uniform looked plain compared to the bright colors and expensive clothes worn by the other delegates. As she walked to her seat, she heard whispers and quiet laughter from the aliens around her. "The humans are here," said a Valorian delegate to his companion. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors with his emotions. Right now, it glowed with amusement. "I wonder what they want this time." Elena ignored them. She had been the human ambassador for 15 years. She was used to the insults. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council 300 years ago. When human ships first reached the stars, they found a universe already full of ancient civilizations. The Valorians had been traveling through space for 50,000 years. The Crethani had conquered 100 worlds. The Mordavians had built an empire across an entire arm of the galaxy. And humans were new. Humans were weak. Humans had only 40 small patrol ships and a few dozen colony worlds. To the other species, humanity was like a child who had wandered into a room full of adults. Elena took her seat at the small human desk. It was placed in the back corner of the chamber, far from the important delegates at the center. She looked up at the main platform where High Arbiter Zolthax stood. He was the leader of the Valorian hegemony and the most powerful being in the council. "We will now hear from the human delegation," Zolthax announced. His voice was cold. "Please keep it brief. We have important matters to discuss." Elena stood and walked to the speaking platform. 1,000 alien eyes watched her. Some looked bored, some looked annoyed, none looked respectful. "Thank you, High Arbiter," Elena said. Her voice was calm and clear. "I come before this council to request military assistance. As you know, the Threkval Dominion has moved a large fleet to the border of human space. Our intelligence reports show over 2,000 warships gathering for an invasion." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Threkval were feared by everyone. They were insected creatures, like giant mantises with 4 arms and sharp claws. For centuries, they had been conquering smaller species. They would invade a world, kill anyone who resisted, and use the survivors as food for their larvae. 6 species had already been absorbed by the Dominion. "The Threkval have not made any official declaration of war," Zolthax said. "Perhaps they are simply conducting military exercises." "With respect, High Arbiter, 2,000 warships is not an exercise," Elena replied. "They mean to invade. They mean to destroy our colonies and enslave our people. We are asking the Council to honor its mutual defense agreements." Silence fell over the chamber. Then, slowly, Zolthax began to laugh. His crystal body turned bright pink with amusement. Other delegates joined him. The Crethani representative, a creature with many tentacles and too many eyes, made a wet sound that passed for laughter among his kind. "Mutual defense," Zolthax said when he finally stopped laughing. "Ambassador, those agreements are between equal powers. Humanity is not an equal power. You have 40 patrol ships with outdated weapons. What would you have us do? Start a war with the Dominion over a species that cannot even defend itself?" Elena's expression did not change. "So you will do nothing?" "We will send a strongly worded message expressing our concern," Zolthax said. "That is the most we can offer. Perhaps you should consider accepting protectorate status under one of the greater powers. The Mordavians, perhaps, might be willing to take you under their protection." The Mordavian delegate, a tall creature with gray skin and black eyes, smiled at this suggestion. Everyone knew what Mordavian protection meant. It meant slavery in everything but name. "I see," Elena said quietly. She looked around the chamber at all the delegates who had laughed at her, at all the powerful species who saw humanity as nothing more than a weak nuisance. So this council, which claims to stand for peace and cooperation, will simply watch as the Threkval destroy an innocent species. We are not responsible for the failures of weaker civilizations, Zolthax replied. If humanity cannot defend itself, that is humanity's problem. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, if your species survives, you will be strong enough to matter. Until then, please do not waste our time with requests you know we cannot fulfill. More laughter filled the chamber. Elena stood alone on the platform, surrounded by mockery. But then something strange happened. Elena smiled. It was a small smile, just a slight curve of her lips, but something about it made the nearest delegate stop laughing. There was something in that smile that they did not understand, something that made them feel, for just a moment, uncomfortable. "Very well," Elena said. Her voice was still calm, still quiet. "I have delivered my message. I have asked for help as our laws required me to do. The council has refused as I expected it would." She paused and looked directly at Zolthax. "We will handle this ourselves." Zolthax's crystal form flickered with confusion. "Handle it? Ambassador, you have 40 ships. The Dominion has 2,000. What exactly do you think you can do?" Elena did not answer. She simply turned and walked back to her seat. As she sat down, she pulled out a small device and checked the time. Then she leaned back in her chair and waited. The council moved on to other business. Trade agreements, border disputes, the boring work of galactic politics, but several delegates found themselves glancing at the human ambassador in the corner. She sat perfectly still, that strange smile still on her face, checking her device every few minutes. The Krathani delegate slithered over to her during a break in the proceedings. "Ambassador Vasquez," he said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. "I hope you understand, we do feel sorry for your species. Perhaps you should begin evacuating your colonies. I am sure some of the greater powers would accept human refugees." Elena looked up at him. Her eyes were calm, almost peaceful. "That will not be necessary," she said. "But the Dominion fleet will reach your space within days. You cannot possibly—" "Tell me," Elena interrupted, "have you ever wondered why humans smile?" The question confused the Krathani. "What do you mean?" "Other species show happiness in different ways, but humans smile. Do you know why this evolved?" "I do not see how this is relevant." Elena's smile widened just a little. "In ancient times on Earth, showing your teeth was a threat. It meant you were ready to bite, ready to fight." She stood and looked down at the Krathani. "When a human smiles at you, part of them is warning you. Part of them is saying, I am not as harmless as I appear." She walked away, leaving the Krathani delegate feeling strangely cold. 3 days later, the Threkval Armada crossed into human space, and everything changed. Grand Executor Vrextel stood on the command platform of his flagship, the Eternal Hunger. He was the supreme military commander of the Threkval Dominion, and he had led invasions against dozens of species. His 4 arms were folded behind his back as he watched the stars through the massive viewing window. 2,000 warships followed behind him, spread across the darkness of space like a swarm of locusts. Each ship carried thousands of Threkval warriors. Each warrior was born for battle, with sharp claws that could cut through metal and armor that could stop most weapons. "Grand Executor," said his second-in-command, a younger Threkval named Crixtal, "we have crossed into human territory. No response from any human vessels." "As expected," Vrextel replied. "The humans know they cannot fight us. They are probably hiding in their colonies, praying to whatever gods they worship." He made a clicking sound with his mandibles. It was the Threkval way of laughing. "Signal all ships to maintain formation. We will proceed to the first human colony. I want it captured within 1 rotation cycle." The fleet moved forward deeper into human space. Vrextel had studied everything the Dominion knew about humanity. They were a young species, barely 300 years into space travel. They had no major weapons, no large fleet, no powerful allies. They would be easy prey. The Threkval needed new breeding grounds. Their population was growing and they needed more worlds to support their larvae. Human colonies would be perfect. The climate was right. The gravity was acceptable, and the humans themselves could serve as food for the young. Hours passed. The fleet approached the first human colony world, a planet called New Helsinki. It was home to 2 million humans. "Grand Executor," Crixtel said suddenly, "something strange is happening." "What is it?" "The colony, it has gone dark. No signals, no communications, nothing." Vrextel turned from the window. "What do you mean, dark?" "All transmissions from the planet have stopped. Our scouts report no activity on the surface, no ships in orbit. It is as if everyone simply vanished." A cold feeling crept into Vrextel's mind. He pushed it away. Humans were weak. This was probably just fear. They had probably evacuated before his arrival. "Send ground forces to investigate," he ordered. 3 hours later, the ground forces reported back. The colony was empty. Every building, every home, every structure was abandoned. Food was still on tables. Vehicles were parked in streets, but every human was gone. There was no sign of where they had gone or how they had left so quickly. "This is impossible," Crixtel whispered. 2 million beings cannot simply disappear. "Move to the next colony," Vrextel commanded, but his voice was not as confident as before. The next colony was also empty, and the next, and the next. Every human world they reached was a ghost town. No people, no ships, no signals, just silence. Back at the Galactic Council station, the other species watched with great interest. They had cameras and sensors throughout the galaxy, and they were tracking the Threkval invasion closely. High Arbiter Zalthax sat in his private chamber with several other important delegates. They watched the reports on large screens that covered the walls. "Fascinating," said the Mordavian representative. "The humans appear to have simply fled. They did not even try to fight." "Cowards," agreed a Crethani delegate. "Perhaps they escaped to some distant world. It does not matter. Without their colonies, their species is finished." Zalthax nodded slowly. "Begin preparing proposals for the division of human territory. Once the Dominion has finished, there will be valuable resources to claim: mining rights, agricultural land, technology, primitive as it may be." The delegates smiled and began discussing which pieces of human space they wanted. In the main council chamber, Ambassador Elena Vasquez still sat at her small desk in the corner. She had not moved in 3 days. She had not spoken. She simply sat there, checking her small device, waiting. Other delegates had tried to talk to her. Some offered fake sympathy. Some offered to help evacuate any remaining humans. Some simply wanted to gloat. Elena ignored them all. The Crethani delegate approached her again. His many eyes blinked with curiosity and cruel amusement. "Ambassador," he said, "surely now you see the truth. Your species is finished. The Dominion has taken your worlds. Your people have scattered like frightened animals. There is no hope left." Elena looked up at him. Her expression was calm, patient. "Have you ever hunted, delegate?" she asked. The question surprised him. "What?" "Hunting? On Earth, it was an ancient practice. Humans would track and catch other animals for food. Do you know the most important part of a good hunt?" "I do not see why this matters." "The most important part," Elena continued, "is the trap. You do not chase your prey, you let your prey come to you. You create a space where your prey feels safe, feels confident, feels certain that it has won." She smiled that strange human smile. "And then when the prey is exactly where you want it, you close the trap." The Crethani felt that cold sensation again. The same one he had felt when she smiled at the council meeting days ago. "You speak in riddles," he said. Your species has lost, accept it. Elena checked her device one more time. Her smile widened. Tell me, she said, do you know what exists in the space beyond the outer planets of the human home system, in the cold, dark cloud of ice and rock that surrounds our sun? The Uit cloud, the Crethani made a dismissive gesture. Nothing exists there, just frozen debris. Your own records say so. Our records say many things, Elena replied. Not all of them are true. Before the Crethani could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the council station. Every screen in the chamber flickered, every communication channel filled with static. And then from the darkness at the edge of human space, something appeared. No, not something. Many things. 12 massive shapes emerging from the void where nothing was supposed to exist. 12 ships so large that sensors could not fully measure them. 12 monsters made of metal and fire, awakening from a sleep that had lasted 2 centuries. The largest of them transmitted a single message to the entire galaxy. Just 2 words, in the cold, clear voice of a human commander. We're awake. In the council chamber, every delegate froze. They stared at the screens showing these impossible ships, ships that could not exist, ships that humanity was never supposed to have. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood from her seat and straightened her uniform. Now, she said quietly, the real conversation begins. The trap had closed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The UHS Prometheus was 47 kilometers long. To understand how big that is, imagine a ship longer than 100 of the largest Threkval warships placed end to end. It was not just a ship. It was a floating city of metal and fire, a weapon of war that made everything else in the galaxy look like a toy. Admiral James Chen stood on the bridge of this massive vessel. He was an old man with white hair and a calm face. He had waited his entire life for this moment. His father had waited. His grandmother had waited. For 200 years, the Chen family had commanded the Prometheus while it slept in the frozen darkness of the Uit cloud. Admiral, said his first officer, all 12 ships report ready. The Dominion fleet is directly ahead. They have not detected us yet. James nodded slowly. Show me the enemy. The main screen lit up with a view of the Threkval Armada. 2,000 warships spread across millions of kilometers of space. They looked impressive. They looked terrifying. James Chen did not feel impressed or terrified. He felt sad. Such a waste, he said quietly. They had a chance to be better. They chose to be monsters instead. Admiral, the Dominion flagship is hailing us. They want to talk. Put them through. The face of Grand Executor Vrextel appeared on the screen. His insectoid features twisted with confusion and anger. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves immediately, Vrextel demanded. You are interfering with official Dominion military operations. Withdraw or face destruction. James smiled. It was a small, tired smile. Grand Executor, I am Admiral James Chen of the United Human Ship Prometheus. You are currently invading human space. Your fleet has entered our territory with hostile intent. He paused. This is your one chance to leave. Turn your ships around and go home. We will not offer this mercy twice. Vrextel stared at the screen. Then he laughed, that clicking, rattling sound of Threkval amusement. You threaten me, with what? 12 ships against 2,000. Human, your species is even more foolish than I thought. I will enjoy watching my warriors tear your vessel apart piece by piece. I see, James said. His voice was soft, almost gentle. Then I am sorry for what happens next. He ended the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Target the forward Dominion formation. Main gun, single shot. Aye, Admiral, firing main gun. The Prometheus had many weapons. Missile batteries, plasma cannons, energy projectors that could burn through any shield. But the main gun was something else entirely. It was a weapon that human scientists had spent 2 centuries building. a weapon that used physics the Galactic Council did not even know existed. A beam of pure white light erupted from the front of the Prometheus. It crossed the distance to the enemy fleet in less than a second, and then 47 HFY warships simply stopped existing. There was no explosion, no debris, no fire. The ships were there and then they were not, as if they had never existed at all. The entire Dominion fleet froze. No one moved. No one spoke. 2,000 warships hung motionless in space, their crews trying to understand what they had just seen. Grand Executor Vrextel stared at his tactical display. Where 47 ships had been, there was now only empty space. Not even atoms remained. "Impossible," he whispered. "That is impossible." "Grand Executor," Crixtel said, his voice shaking, "the human ships are moving, all 12 of them. They are surrounding us." And they were. The 12 massive human vessels spread out, forming a circle around the entire Dominion fleet. Each ship was a mountain of metal, covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. James Chen opened a channel to the entire Dominion fleet. "Soldiers of the Dominion," he said, "your leaders have lied to you. They told you humanity was weak. They told you we would be easy prey. They were wrong. You have seen what just one of our weapons can do. We have many more." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I do not want to kill you. I take no joy in death, but I will protect my people. I will defend human space. If you continue this invasion, you will all die here today, every single one of you." The channel remained open. James waited. On the Eternal Hunger, chaos had erupted. Officers shouted at each other. Warriors demanded orders. Some ships were already trying to turn around, their captains unwilling to die for a war they could not win. "Grand Executor, we must retreat," Crixtel begged. "We cannot fight this. We cannot." "Silence!" Vrextel screamed. His forearms trembled with rage and fear. "We are HFY. We do not run from prey. All ships attack formation. Destroy those human vessels." It was the wrong choice. It was the last choice Vrextel would ever make. Approximately 200 Dominion ships obeyed the order and charged toward the Prometheus. The rest hesitated, their captains frozen with fear. James Chen sighed heavily. "Target the attacking ships. All batteries fire at will." The 12 human warships opened fire at once. The darkness of space lit up with 1,000 different weapons, beams of light, missiles that moved faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen, energy waves that passed through shields like they were not there. The attacking Dominion ships lasted less than 30 seconds. When the firing stopped, nothing remained but spreading clouds of dust. The rest of the Dominion fleet did not move. No one attacked. No one ran. They simply waited, knowing that their lives depended on the mercy of a species they had planned to destroy. James opened the channel again. "Grand Executor Vrextel, I am asking you one more time. Order your fleet to stand down. Surrender your vessels. Accept responsibility for your crimes against the species your Dominion has conquered. Do this, and your people will live." For a long moment there was silence. Then Vrextel's voice came through the speakers, broken and defeated. How did you do this? How did you hide this power? We watched you for 300 years. You had nothing. You were nothing." James smiled that sad smile again. "We had everything, Grand Executor. We had patience. We had time. We had the wisdom to know that showing strength is not the same as having strength." He leaned forward. "You saw what we wanted you to see, nothing more." The transmission from the Dominion flagship cut off. A few minutes later, the entire fleet transmitted surrender codes. 2,000 warships, the pride of the HFY Dominion, gave up without another shot being fired. In the council chamber, 12 species watched in complete shock. Their screens showed the impossible victory. Their sensors confirmed what their eyes refused to believe. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the chamber. Every alien eye was on her. "Now," she said calmly, Shall we discuss those mutual defense agreements again? No one laughed this time. The Galactic Council chamber had become a place of pure chaos. Delegates ran in every direction. Some screamed into communication devices, trying to reach their home worlds. Others stood frozen, unable to move, unable to think. 3 delegations had already fled toward their ships, abandoning the station entirely. High Arbiter Zolthax remained at his platform, but his crystal body had turned a pale, sickly gray. The color of fear. The color of complete shock. He watched the screens showing the defeated Dominion fleet, and he could not make sense of what he was seeing. "This cannot be real," he said to no one. "This cannot be happening." But it was real. It was happening, and everything he thought he knew about humanity was wrong. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked slowly through the chaos. Delegates moved out of her way without thinking. They looked at her with new eyes. Yesterday, she had been a joke. Today, she was the representative of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. She climbed the steps to the main speaking platform. She did not ask for permission. She did not wait to be recognized. She simply stood there, calm and patient, until the chamber grew quiet. 300 years ago, Elena began, her voice clear and steady, the first human ships reached the stars. We were excited. We were hopeful. We thought we would find friends among the stars. We thought the universe would welcome us. She paused, looking around the chamber at the silent delegates. We were wrong. What we found was a galaxy ruled by the strong. A galaxy where weak species were conquered, enslaved, or destroyed. We watched the Threkval absorb 6 civilizations. We saw the Mordavian slave camps. We learned about the Krethani bioweapon programs. We discovered that every species in this chamber had secrets. Dark secrets. Terrible secrets. The Krethani delegate tried to speak, tried to deny her words, but no sound came out. He had no defense against the truth. So humanity made a decision, Elena continued. We could try to grow strong in the open and be destroyed before we were ready, or we could hide our strength. We could pretend to be weak. We could let the galaxy laugh at us while we prepared for the day when we would no longer need to pretend. She touched a control on her wrist. The screens around the chamber changed. They showed maps, data, images of hidden human installations spread across 100 star systems. For 300 years we built. We researched. We invented. While you mocked us in this chamber, we were constructing weapons you cannot imagine. While you called us primitives, we were developing technologies that make your most advanced systems look like children's toys. The images on the screens showed shipyards hidden inside gas giants, research stations buried beneath planetary surfaces, weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, a civilization of hidden power waiting in the dark. The 12 ships that destroyed the Dominion fleet are only a small part of our true military, Elena said. We have thousands more. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have shields that can block anything your fleets can fire. We have been ready for war for over a century. High Arbiter Zolthax finally found his voice. This is a violation of the Transparency Accords. Every member species is required to report their military capabilities. You have broken galactic law. Elena laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had heard a child say something foolish. The Transparency Accords. You want to lecture me about the Transparency Accords? She touched her control again. New images appeared on the screens. Let me show you something, High Arbiter. The screens displayed detailed reports, locations, names, numbers, evidence of secret programs that every major species had been hiding from the Council. The Valorian Hidden Fleet, 300 warships kept in reserve despite your treaty obligations. She pointed at Zolthax, whose crystal body flickered with alarm. The Mordavian slave colonies in the Outer Rim, where 12 species are forced to work in mines and factories. The Mordavian delegate's gray face went pale. The Krethani biological research stations, where you develop diseases designed to kill specific species. The Krathani delegate's tentacles curled in fear. "We know everything," Alina said. "We have been watching you for 3 centuries. We have agents in your governments. We have sensors monitoring your secret installations. We have recorded every crime, every violation, every act of cruelty that you thought no one would ever discover." The chamber was completely silent. No one moved, no one breathed. "You thought you were the powerful ones," Alina continued. "You thought you were in control. You thought humanity was just a weak species that you could ignore or destroy whenever you wanted." She smiled that strange human smile. "You were wrong. You were always wrong, and now you understand exactly how wrong you were." She walked to the edge of the platform and looked down at the delegates below. "We could have conquered you, all of you. We had the ships, we had the weapons, we had every excuse. You abandoned us when the Dominion attacked. You laughed at our suffering. You were ready to divide our territory like we were already dead." Her voice hardened. "We could have done to you what you planned to do to us. We could have burned your worlds and enslaved your people." The fear in the chamber was thick enough to touch. Every delegate was thinking the same thing. What would the humans do now? What revenge would they take? "But we will not do that," Alina said. The words hung in the air. No one understood. "We spent 300 years watching your galaxy. We learned how you think. We learned why you act the way you do. Every species in this room is afraid. You are afraid of each other. You are afraid of the unknown. You are afraid that if you show weakness, someone will destroy you. So you lie. You cheat. You hurt others before they can hurt you." She shook her head slowly. "Humanity was afraid too in the beginning. We were so afraid that we hid for 300 years. But we did not let our fear turn us into monsters. We did not become the thing we feared." Alina turned to face Zolthax directly. "High Arbiter, I am not here to threaten you. I am not here to destroy you. I am here to offer you something that has never existed in this galaxy before." "What?" Zolthax asked, his voice barely a whisper. "A choice," Alina replied. "A chance to build something better. A galaxy where species do not have to be afraid, where the strong protect the weak instead of eating them, where cooperation means more than competition." She looked around the chamber one last time. "Tomorrow, humanity will present a new charter for the Galactic Council, new rules, new agreements, a new way of living together in this universe. You can accept these changes and join us in building a better future, or you can refuse and face the consequences." She stepped down from the platform. "The choice is yours, but I suggest you choose wisely." She walked back to her small desk in the corner and sat down. The chamber remained silent for a very long time. The galaxy had changed forever, and this was only the beginning. 6 months had passed since the day the human warships appeared. In that time, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous 10,000 years. The Threkval Dominion no longer existed. Its leaders had been arrested and put on trial for their crimes against countless species. The trial was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. For the first time in history, the powerful were held responsible for what they had done to the weak. Grand Executor Vrextel sat in a prison cell on a neutral station, waiting for his sentence. He had been found guilty of genocide, slavery, and crimes against civilization. He would spend the rest of his life watching the species he had tried to destroy grow and prosper without him. But humanity had not simply punished the Dominion. They had done something far more unexpected. They had freed every species that the Threkval had conquered. 6 civilizations, some nearly destroyed, were given their worlds back. Human ships brought food, medicine, and building materials. Human engineers helped rebuild cities. Human teachers opened schools. The freed species could not understand it. They had expected new masters. They had expected humanity to simply replace the Dominion as their oppressors. Instead, the humans asked for nothing. They just helped. "Why?" asked Velrix, the last surviving elder of the Tauranian people. His species had been enslaved by the Dominion for 2 centuries. Only a few thousand of them remained. Why do you help us? What do you want from us? The human aid worker, a young woman named Sarah, smiled gently. We want you to be free. That is all. We want you to live and grow and become whatever you want to become. But that makes no sense. The strong take from the weak. That is how the galaxy works. Sarah shook her head. That is how the galaxy used to work. We are trying to build something different. Velric stared at her for a long time. Then, slowly, tears began to fall from his ancient eyes. He had forgotten what hope felt like. The humans had reminded him. Back at the Galactic Council, everything had changed. The small human desk in the corner was gone. In its place, humanity now sat at the center of the chamber, equal to the greatest powers in the galaxy. No, not equal. Everyone knew the truth now. Humanity was the most powerful species that had ever existed. They could destroy anyone who opposed them. They could rule the galaxy with an iron fist if they wanted to. They did not want to. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the council to present the final version of the new charter. It was a document that would change everything. New laws that protected weak species from strong ones. New courts where anyone could seek justice. New rules that made slavery illegal throughout the galaxy. New agreements that required transparency, real transparency, from every member species. This charter is not a threat, Elena said. It is a promise. Humanity will use its power to enforce these laws. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will punish those who try to return to the old ways. She paused. But we will not rule. We will not control. We will simply make sure that everyone gets a fair chance. One by one, the delegations voted to accept the charter. The Valorians, their crystal bodies glowing with uncertain colors, voted yes. The Mordavians, their empire of slaves now collapsing, had no choice but to agree. The Crethani, their secret programs exposed to the entire galaxy, quickly fell in line. Even species that had mocked humanity for centuries now praised them. Ambassadors who had laughed at Elena Vasquez now brought her gifts and requested her friendship. It was amazing how quickly attitudes could change when the balance of power shifted. But Elena did not care about gifts or friendship. She cared about results. The freed slave species were given seats on the council. Small species that had lived in fear for thousands of years were invited to join. For the first time, the Galactic Council actually represented the galaxy, not just the biggest bullies in it. Admiral James Chen retired from the military after the crisis ended. He returned to Earth, to a small house by the sea where his family had lived for generations. He spent his days fishing and watching the sunset, happy to finally rest after a lifetime of waiting for a war that ended with almost no death. One evening, his granddaughter came to visit. She was 12 years old, bright and curious and full of questions. "Grandfather," she asked, "why did we hide for so long? Why did we let them laugh at us?" James smiled and pulled her close. "Because, little one, true strength is not about what you can destroy. It is about what you can build, what you can protect, what you can change." "But we were strong enough to beat them all along." "Yes, but if we had shown our strength too early, we would have had to fight. Many people would have died. Many worlds would have burned. The old powers would have united against us, and even if we won, the cost would have been terrible." He looked out at the ocean, remembering all the years of patience, all the years of pretending. "We waited until we were so strong that fighting was unnecessary. We waited until they saw our power and knew they could not win. And then, instead of destroying them, we offered them a better way." His granddaughter thought about this for a long time. So we were not hiding because we were weak. We were hiding because we were wise. James laughed and hugged her tighter. "Exactly, little one, exactly." In the cold darkness between stars, the 12 great warships of humanity's hidden fleet stood silent watch. They drifted through the void, their weapons ready but unused, their crews patient and alert. They were a warning to anyone who might think of returning to the old ways, a reminder that humanity was watching, a promise that the galaxy would never go back to what it had been. But they were also a symbol of hope, a sign that power could be used for good, that the strong could choose to protect instead of oppress, that even in a universe full of darkness, there was room for light. On the bridge of the Prometheus, a new admiral looked at the stars and thought about the future. There would be challenges ahead. Some species would resist the new order. Some would try to bring back the old ways. The work of building a better galaxy was never truly finished. But humanity had proven something that no one had believed possible. They had shown that a species could be both strong and kind, that power and mercy could exist together, that the cycle of violence and fear that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years could be broken. They had hidden for 300 years, waiting for their moment, and when that moment came, they had not used it for revenge or conquest. They had used it to change everything. In the end, that was the greatest victory of all. Not the destruction of enemies, but the creation of friends. Not the conquest of worlds, but the liberation of spirits. Not the demonstration of power, but the proof that power could serve something greater than itself. The galaxy was afraid of humanity no more. Now the galaxy had hope. And hope, as the humans had shown, was the most powerful force in the universe.